We recently bought our first home, a total fixer-upper, and one of our biggest projects so far has been a complete kitchen remodel. We've ripped out the old cabinets, removed an old door to create more counter space, plumbed a new kitchen sink.
Look what we did!
And I've been building our new kitchen cabinets from scratch. Oh, and we're doing all of this with no prior experience. This entire process has been so rewarding and challenging and has saved us thousands of dollars by taking the DIY approach. But we're far from done and have many projects to share in the coming weeks, so follow along as we transform this fixer-upper into our cozy home. This week we've been gearing up to actually start putting cabinets in the kitchen, and there's a few more things I'd like to do before I start putting the cabinets on the wall. Number one, I'd like to drill the shelf pin holes for the shelving. It's going to go in the upper cabinets. Yesterday afternoon, a very quick but powerful storm had rolled through, completely destroyed my tent. Luckily, all my power tools and all of that more important stuff was inside, so that was kind of a bummer, but my tent is ruined. Can't use the tent anymore, and today I'm going to be working in the sunroom. So I've come a long way with the cabinet construction. I think it's been going pretty well so far, but there's still a lot to do. So anyway, let me get started. I was getting a little bit of tear out on my holes when I was drilling those pinholes, and I tried putting tape over the next row to see if I could kind of prevent some of the tear out. I didn't really seem to do much, and I watched a video on ideas for taming the tear out. One suggestion was to put like a little thin piece of substrate, like a really thin plywood or, particle board or something on top of that and drill through that first. I don't really want to fool with that. So I decided to just try taking the drill and kind of going up and down with it a few times to help kind of clean out the hole and also really thoroughly drill the edges. That seemed to actually work pretty good. I still got a little bit of tear out with that, but I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward. It's going to take me just a little bit more time to drill the holes, but I really want those to be as clean as possible. And then of course I'll go through and sand them down really well afterward. So I kind of messed up when I was drilling these holes over here because on this side I started from, I think, the top. On this side I accidentally started from the bottom. So I will go through and fill the holes that I don't need, and then I'll sand those down before I put the varnish on this particular cabinet. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. Today we're getting cabinets on the wall. I'm determined. I keep saying that, and then things keep getting pushed back further and further, but I think today it's actually gonna happen. And I'm actually gonna be going out of town this afternoon, so I'm trying to get this done before I leave today. So I have all of the upper cabinet boxes made, and I've drilled all the holes for the little pin what are those things called? Shelf pins to hold the shelves up. And before I put them on the wall, I just want to get the face frames constructed and put on them. So that's what I'm working on today, the face frames. And I've already kind of gone over this process for the lower cabinets with the face frames. And the process for making them for the upper cabinets is pretty much exactly the same. So I'm working outside again without my tent. Very sad that I don't have my tent anymore, but it's not too bad out here today. So I'm gonna try to get as much done on this as I can. So that's what I'm working on today, get the face frames done, get them attached to the cabinets, get the upper cabinets on the walls, and also get the lower cabinets in place. This is very exciting. Did you hear those birds?
What?
That.
Those are cranes.
They sound like aliens. They don't sound right. They sound cray-cray.
Yeah, get out the country.
They sound kind of cray-cray. So for the top rails on the upper cabinets, I'm going to be doing a thicker rail because eventually I'm going to have some trim that goes all the way around the top of the cabinets. And I want that rail to kind of stick down below the trim, the 1.5 inches, so that it matches the rails and stiles of the rest of the face frames. So I'm gonna do that a little bit thicker, and then when that trim piece goes on, it's just gonna I think it's just gonna look good. But the only thing is, I need it to be 5 inches tall. They don't make common boards or 1x that are exactly 5 inches wide. So I'm gonna have to cut down a 1x6 to 5 inches. A 1x6 is actually 5.5, actually just a hair over 5.5 inches. So I'm just gonna cut these two boards down to 5 inches before I cut all of my rails. I probably really over-explained that, but anyway, I'm gonna trim this piece of wood. So I think a storm is moving through. Oh, actually here it is. I was gonna try to drill these pocket holes outside, but I need to move it into the sunroom. Dang it. So a few of the cabinets in the kitchen are going to be sharing a face frame. And to attach the face frame, I'm first gluing the first cabinet, then I will lay the face frame on top and screw it in around the edges where I have created those pocket holes. Then I can glue around the perimeter of the second cabinet, align it with the face frame and the first cabinet, and I'm screwing those cabinets together so that they act as one unit. Then I'll do the same thing. I'll go around the perimeter and screw in the frame to the second cabinet in those pocket holes that I created when I put the cabinets together. To help us get the cabinets up on the wall and hold them in place while we screw them in, we installed a temporary 2x4 ledger and just made sure that that was level, and that's going to help us hold those cabinets in place a little bit easier. Then I measured the stud locations. I knew where the studs were. I'd marked them previously. I measured those on the wall and then transferred those measurements to the cabinets and just marked the stud locations on those stretchers on the back of the cabinet. I'm going to use those marks to drill through the back of the cabinet to the front of the cabinet, which will provide pre-drilled locations for the screws to go in, but also mark the stud locations so that we can see them from the front of the cabinet while we're hanging it. And this will just make it a lot easier to make sure that we're hitting a stud when we screw the cabinets into the wall.
Oh, that was spicy. Someday come into the sledgehammer and break all of them down.
I have actually thought about that.
Where are we going?
We're going, yeah, to that mark. I'll just get up there, I'll position it. Oh, actually, I gotta measure. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
I got excited. I got a little excited. 1.8 inches. So this cabinet was giving us actually kind of a lot of trouble, and we had a really hard time getting it to fit in the spot, and the ceiling is not even at all, and it was crooked. It was crooked, and I didn't want to believe it, but Alan pointed it out to me.
I mean, I think it is leaning at the top that way, because if you look at the paneling groove.
So we just decided to leave it for now and troubleshoot it later and just move on to the next cabinet on this opposite wall here. But then we ran into the exact same issue, and this one would not even go up. Like, there was not enough space for it. Oh, is it not gonna fit?
How's it look underneath? Is it like it's probably not even close, huh?
It's like a ½ inch off.
Everywhere? Or?
Well, right here it actually looks like it would almost go, but then... So we took the cabinet down because I realized that I was going to have to trim this cabinet and probably the other one that was crooked. I'm so overwhelmed. The thing is, I even gave myself, like, wiggle room. Unfortunately, on this day, I just didn't have time to trim the cabinets. I had to leave for a trip soon, so we just laid out the rest of the base cabinets just so that we could see them in the space. Okay. Well, that's pretty much the layout in this cabinet, and then we're going to have a fridge cabinet here that I have not built yet.
Nice. What are we cooking for dinner?
Oh my goodness. It has been a little over 2 weeks since we last worked on this kitchen, and I'll be honest, I was a little frustrated leaving a crooked cabinet hung, but I did have some things come up that I had to take care of over the last couple of weeks, and it actually was probably a good thing for me to take a little bit of a break from the house. I tend to get a little bit of tunnel vision on my projects. It's really hard for me to walk away from an unfinished project, but because of that, I also tend to be like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, let's just get it done. And anyway, we need to fix a few things about the cabinets. So today, while I have my husband, he's gonna be in and out of town this week, so while I have my husband today, I'm gonna try to get some things done that I need a helper for, like taking down that cabinet that we hung kind of crooked. And then I'm also going to trim the top of that cabinet and the other cabinet that we couldn't even get up because of the ceiling issue being crooked. And then we'll rehang the cabinets hopefully before he has to leave today. I think we can do it. I'm just ready to get to work, ready to get this dang kitchen finished. Not too bad. Okay. right, we have hung the upper cabinets finally. It feels so good to have those up. This whole process of building the cabinets has really not been that bad, but hanging the upper cabinets so far has been the most challenging part of this whole process. Just getting everything straight, making sure you have it at the level that you want. That was challenging, but we did it. We finally got them up, and it just feels really good to have this up on the wall. I'll be installing the rest of these lower cabinets the same way that I did for the sink cabinet over here. But before I screw the cabinets into the wall, there are a couple of things I need to do below and behind a couple of the cabinets to kind of prep to get those installed permanently. And then once I get those installed permanently, I can have someone come out and measure for countertops. I do already have an appointment scheduled tomorrow with the folks at Home Depot to talk about getting countertops measured and installed for the space. So I just want to get as much done as possible before I even have that meeting so that I know I'm ready for them to come out and measure for the countertops. So the cabinet that is going to be next to the dishwasher is actually going to also be on top of one of our vents, the air vents for the HVAC system that is in the floor. Now originally the cabinetry stopped right here. There was a dishwasher here, and the dishwasher is going to go here again, but I am kind of scooting things over a little bit, and this is going to be covered. So I just need to redirect this vent basically to the toe kick of the cabinet, which will be about right here. They actually make these like vent redirect things that you can buy on Amazon. I've seen them other places too, but they're like over $100, and it's basically just pieces of ductwork that are kind of fashioned together to redirect an air vent under a toe kick. So I did go to Home Depot and buy some air conditioning ductwork pieces. So I got this little elbow thing that I thought could sit on top of the vent and then redirect the air out. So basically it would kind of come out, and then I was going to take some flexible coil duct and route it around to the front of the toe kick and attach it to something like this. And I also have another one of these that could attach to this so that it can attach to the ductwork, and that to me seemed like it's gonna be fine. The only thing was these were a little too tall to fit under the 3.5-inch space under the cabinet. So I was gonna have to like clip with some metal shears and kind of flatten things out a little bit to make it fit under there. But then it occurred to me, I bought this little vent redirect thing that goes under furniture because our couch is actually over one of the vents. And I thought, gosh, I wish they made one of those. It was L-shaped and I could just put it under there. It would be so simple. But then I was like, wait a minute. I actually don't need it to be L-shaped. I can just sit it on top of the vent. So I've just taken off the vent cover. I don't think we're gonna need that. It's gonna be under the cabinet anyway. And if I just put this, instead of putting this like this, I'm actually just gonna put it like this. And I can probably just tape it down. Actually, I need to put it over to the edge. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. As long as the air goes through here and out to the front here, I think we'll be okay. So if I put that there, and then I can probably tape it down with some, heavy duty tape. And then the air can just flow out the front of the toe kick. And it's adjustable. I think that's gonna work. And this thing is it's really cheap. And I think I maybe spent like 50 or 60 bucks on the ductwork supplies that I bought. But if this works, I can take those back, get my money back, and I will have saved about $100 on this solution. So I'm gonna turn the air on and see if that works. All right, moment of truth. Oh, that is perfect. And I can tape it down around the edges to prevent any air loss around the edges. That's so simple and so perfect. This is one of those projects that I was like, oh gosh, I hope my little ducting situation experiment works. But it was kind of stressing me out because I was like, I don't love it. It's not a super elegant way to address this problem. But this works beautifully. And these things are so inexpensive. And it's so low profile too. Like I'm not gonna have to do much to make it work with the toe kick. So, yay! This is a project I thought was gonna take me hours, and it literally just took me seconds to figure out what I was gonna do. Yes! Oh gosh. So simple. Hey. One of the things I've been doing throughout the house as we work through each room is filling any gaps in the kind of floor where it meets the wall with this expanding foam insulation or caulk, because I've noticed that there are several little holes and kind of vulnerable looking spots for possibly mice or pests to get in, and I just want to make sure that I fortify this place and keep all those things out. thing I needed to do is modify this cabinet to allow access to the plug for the range. So the previous kitchen had the range right next to the refrigerator. They did have like this little weird blocked spacer that they put in there. It didn't look good, and I just don't like the idea of having the range right up next to the fridge. So when I designed the new layout, I did shift the range down about 1 foot. So now the plug for the range is behind one of the cabinets. Originally, I was thinking I would probably try to reroute that plug, basically pull it out and move it over to the other side of the stud. So there's a stud right here beside this outlet that goes all the way down to the floor, obviously, and this outlet and the range outlet are attached to that stud on the left side. So I was thinking I would just pull it out, move it over to the other side of the stud. It turned out it was a little bit more complicated than that, and there wasn't enough slack in the cable that goes to that range outlet. So my solution is going to be to cut out a little cubby hole in the bottom and the back side of this cabinet so that we can access the plug. When you pull the drawer out, you'll be able to access it, but when the drawers are in, you won't be able to see it. And I'll just make that drawer on the bottom a little bit shorter so that it doesn't go all the way back to the wall. So I just need to measure the bottom of the cabinet and the side to figure out where I want this little cubby hole to be, and I'll probably just cut it out with a jigsaw. Now when we put the range back here, we can just snake the cord through this hole and plug it in. We have access from the side and from the top. Well, actually, it'll be from inside the cabinet because we'll have a counter on, but that should be easy to access. So you may notice that the edge of this does not line up perfectly with this, and there is a reason for that. And I had a little moment of panic yesterday when I was putting the cabinets in after we hung the ones on the wall, because they didn't line up, and I was like, oh crap, did I make a mismeasurement somewhere? But then I remembered the reason that I did that was because we need 24 inches for the dishwasher here, and I also wanted to have equal open space on either side of the window. Let me show you a little bit better here. So I wanted the space on either side of this window to be equal open space, and once I get the trim on the door and the trim on the window, the space between the edge of the cabinet and the trim and the edge of the trim and the edge of the trim is going to be exactly the same. These are things that you can do when you make custom cabinetry. You cannot always achieve these things when you are doing out-of-the-box cabinetry. And so even though that doesn't line up perfectly, which does kind of bother me a little bit, it meets other needs that I have in this kitchen and other things that I wanted to line up that I felt were more important. So that's why. We have had so many turkeys in our yard lately. I'm not gonna lie, turkeys kind of freak me out a little bit. Next, I just worked on leveling and securing the cabinets in place. I showed a little bit more in detail about how I did this in my last video, which will be linked below in the playlist below in the description below this video. But I basically just want to make sure that they're level, and then I'm using shims to kind of help get everything level and that I screw it to the wall. And I also want to make sure that I'm screwing into the studs in the wall. So I've marked locations for the studs, and I know where all of those are before I start screwing these in. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, I actually have a whole series of videos leading up to this one that I shared on my other channel, the Pattern Scout Sewing channel. That was my original channel here on YouTube, and originally I was sharing all of that content on the same channel, but I decided to create this dedicated channel just for the home renovation and DIY project content, that kind of stuff. So I will put a link in the description to a playlist with all of the other videos in this series leading up to this point if you want to go check those out. If you're new here, or if you found me through my other channel, please do subscribe if you're into these types of videos, because it'll really help the channel out. It'll help it get served to more people here on YouTube, so that if there are other people that like this kind of thing, they'll find it. I have lots of things planned for this channel. Lots of home renovation projects. This house is definitely a fixer-upper. We have got plenty of projects to keep us busy and share here with you guys. And if you have been following the series over on my other channel, I just want to thank you for that. You guys have been so enthusiastic about these videos. It's been very encouraging, and I just wanted to create a dedicated space for all of this. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you thought, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.